friends, welcome to another PyVaries video. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how I manage my to-dos and notes using vimwiki, Tmux, Conky, Polybar and Python. So this is a weird combination of softwares that I use to manage my to-dos, but let's see what I'm talking about and how my workflow is. So first of all, you can see is Tmux. So I use Tmux for managing my workspaces with Neovim. So here I'm always on Tmux. So I have a key mapping on Tmux. So that is escape plus G, where escape is my prefix key, and I have mapped that to caps lock, so I can place my fingers in the home row and then quickly use the prefix key. So let's see how it goes. So I press escape G and it will launch a pop-up inside Tmux with the index file of vimwiki open. So here I can go to the personal wiki, and then I have made a section for this tutorial. So it's inside a folder called YouTube, and it's a folder named to do. So inside of that you can see three files: todo.md, doing.md and done.md. And I go to to do, there is like three to-dos there, so I will add a new to-do. So let's see my new to-do, and I can make that a to-do item by pressing space and tt, space tt, so space tt in the normal mode. So that makes it a to-do items. And if you I will minimize this and I can show you. So if you see in the desktop, we have the Conky widgets here, and if I save this file, you can see that appear in my Conky widget. So here you can see my to-dos, and then if I mark this to-do as starting, so like I can change the status of this to-do. I'm using Vim task here, but this is a forked version of Vim tasks which I maintain myself. So here if I change the status of this task, for example, I can mark it as a in progress. So to do that, I can press space TB and it will change its status to started. So and if I save that file, you can see, you can see that it changed its status in the agenda also. And you can see in the bottom, you can see that there is an entry in my Polybar with this to do. So any to do that has been marked as started will show up here, and this is a Pomodoro timer. So if I click here, it will start a Pomodoro timer, and if I right click that, it will pause. I'm not sure if you can hear the tick sound, but it will make a tick sound also. And if I triple click on it or middle click on it, it will stop the task. And that's one thing. And then if we can change the task status here also in the to do file itself, we can mark some to do as high priority. Let's mark that. I'm using slash and mh to make it high priority, and slash ml to low priority, slash mm medium priority. So this will show up in different colors here. As you can see, the high priority items are colored as red, the medium priority in orange, and low priority in blue. So and then if I mark a task as done, I can mark that using space td, and it marks it as done. So if I mark this as done, then you can see that it changes its color here. So it changes it to green with the marked sign. And then I also added a end of to do tag here. This is necessary so that the script that I'm going to run will know when the end of to do is there. So I can run an external script here, move to dos, and I can pass the folder of the to-dos here. So if I ran this command, then you can see that it removed the in progress and done to-dos, two different files that we can see here. There is like a doing.md. If you go to the doing.md, then the started, the in progress to do is in that, and you can see that here in the agenda also, that it got separated to a different section, that this is my in progress to do. And then if you go to done.md, you can see that the done to-dos are in this file. So you can actually have this three tier of status for the file for the tasks, and it will be on different files. So let's go ahead and see how I have done this. So there is like a lot of scripts going on, and I will explain in detail how I accomplished this. So now look at each of the configurations that we are going to use. So first of all, let's start with the Neovim config along with the vimwiki. So as far as the Neovim is concerned, I'm using a particular distribution of Neovim called Bearvim, which I created. So my config is out there as a installable Neovim distribution, which is called Bearvim. I can show you. So here is the repository for Bearvim. So if you go here, you can see how you can install that with a single command, and I update it regularly. There is a small documentation there, so you can check that out, and it has all the things that is pre-built into that. But this works as a starting point for you guys to create your own distribution, or create your own config. It's very simple and straightforward. And I also said that I maintain a fork of Vim tasks, so that's here. It's already included with Bearvim, so you can have that. And as far as the configuration is concerned, I will show you relevant points in that Bearvim config. And we will go to code, and first thing is key maps. So in this file, you can see that I have mapped the key bindings for the tasks here, and in the as far as the config is concerned, I have a Vim task config. This is the Vim task config, and there is not much there. I changed the date format here, and then I have an auto command which makes the todo.md, doing.md, and done.md as file type tasks. And as far as the vimwiki config is concerned, let's jump ahead to vimwiki config, and here is my vimwiki config, and there is also not much changed here. I changed the path, and then I changed the format to markdown. So that's all as far as the vimwiki and vim task config is concerned. So also you may want to install my version of vim task, because I have changed the vim tasks so that it will recognize md files as vim task type also. So that's there. So this is the Neovim and vimwiki config. Now let's look at the Tmux config. For Tmux, I'm using a Tmux distribution kind of thing called Oh My Tmux. So here is the Oh My Tmux installation page. So you have to install Oh My Tmux, or you can use your own Tmux config. But the Tmux session is very small as far as the other portions are concerned. So I will open up my Tmux config here. So escape E will open the Tmux config, and here the relevant portion is I think it is there. It's a single line. Yes. So here is the thing that opens up the display pop-up on the side. So G, as you can see here. So I can close it with escape D. So just like any other Tmux session. So here I am binding the G key with the display pop-up command, and here is I have height of 100%, a width of 40%, and I position it to the right side. And here's the command that I run. So I run a new session called scratchpad, and if the session is already there, it will open up that session. If it is not, it will create the session. That's the A and S flags for. And I have like a shell script which runs the vimwiki page. So I will show you the shell script. that is .tmux .vimwiki.sh, and it's simple command to set the status off. So if you look at that thing, you can see that there is no Tmux status at the end of the at the bottom. So this will if there is a Tmux status, it will be a little bit not good to look at. So I have turned that off. You can always keep that if you want, and then I open up the index of vimwiki here. So that's just it. You can skip this part and just pass that command in vim documents vimwiki index.md to here itself. So that is how I show the display pop-up inside of the Tmux. So this is all the config that you need to show that vimwiki inside of a display pop-up in Tmux. So now we can go ahead and look at the Conky config, and this is one of the most important aspects of this tutorial, because that is what bulk of the action is going on. So let's look at the Conky config. So I have like my file support here, and inside of that I have Conky folder. Here is the Conky configs. So let's look at the Conky agenda file, which is responsible for displaying this agenda on the right side here. And here there is not much going on. So I set the alignment to the bottom right. I have X and Y settings to set the position there, and I have set a minimum height, and I also inherit the Conky RC common file. So let's look at that. um, so this is the Conky RC common file. All these files that I am showing here will be linked in the description in a new repository, and also along with my Bevim repository, so don't worry about that. So this is my base config. It's just some of the common settings for all these Conky files, and then I have like set the font here and define some colors which we will use in the in the coming in the Conky files. So here this is where the action happens. So I have set a heading here, agenda, and then I'm using the exe cpi command of Conky to run this script every 6 seconds. So this parse agenda script, and that's responsible for parsing the vimwiki file and then converting that to the format that's digestible by Conky. So let's have a look at that. So parse agenda is a Python file. So I have this file. So this is a Python script where I pass the path of the folder as an argument to the script itself that you can see here. I'm passing the path of the folder where my to-do files are there. So the advantage of this is that you can have different folders for different projects, or like work folder or personal folder, and then you can manage that, and you can automatically switch this using the environment variables. I have like set that using the ZSH environmental env something etc ZSH environment file, and also if you are using bash, you can use the profile.d and then set a script to set this folder and then pass that into the file. But that's out of scope of this tutorial, so I'm not going to delve deep into that. So let's look at the file. So here I have mentioned a to-do file and a doing file, because the relevant to-dos, that is the in progress to-dos, and the unfinished to-dos are residing in this to-do and doing MD. So I have a huge done.md, so which I won't be able to display in this small section, so I just skip that altogether. And I have some functions here to process the to-do. So let's look at that. And here I check the priority. So if there is this priority things, this will assign colors to each of the lines. So that's what check priority does, and this is where the whole parsing of the line happens. And here, since we are assigning colors, we are removing the text priority high and priority medium that we set in the to do here, and then I am also doing the same thing with the started and done. So if the file is started, then I I cut out the part with the starter text, and then I extract the time string and then assign it here, like to simplify the view, obviously. And for done also, I am removing all the unnecessary parts and just extracting the timestamp and displaying it there. And I then here is what I check for the length of the line, and then I trim that and put it in the next line, because Conky doesn't automatically ramp the text. It will cut it off. So in order to avoid that, I cut it manually and set a new line there. And then I have this process lines um, command, which actually is the main logic. So it loops through each of the line, and then if it encounters a trigger or a starting point, like if it encounters hash, it knows that it is a heading. And also I need to remove hash, because Conky is using hash as a comment, so it will strip out everything after that. So in order to avoid that, I will remove the hash. And then I check for the marks that set by the Vim tasks, and then process the lines based on that. So if there is a tick mark, then I know that that task is done. So I will do the color changes and the font changes for that particular line. And the same with the to do and then the in progress lines. And then I run a main loop where I open the to do file and doing file, and then I add that to a single line and then process that thing. So if ever I have I can show both to do and doing file. So that's here is what that's what parts agenda is basically for, which displays this thing. So this is all on the Conky side of things, which shows this nice display. And I'm using Conky commands inside of this text. As you can see, when I process the text, I add like v offset. Is these are Conky commands, Conky related commands. So I can use the Conky variables. Sorry, it's not commands, it's variables. Conky variables inside of this line, and I output that as a single text, which Conky will parse and display it nicely here. So that's what happening. So yeah, that's all from the Conky side of things. Now we can look at the Polybar config that I showed you. Here in the bottom, there is this Pomodoro timer which resides on the Polybar. So I can show you the Polybar config. So I can once again go to my dot files, and here inside of Polybar, there is Polybar config. So it's all in the modules.ini, and there is a task section. This is a custom script module which is part of Polybar. And here I have added tail as tail to true, so that it will continuously run the script. So this is the script pomodoro.py, and I am also passing the path of the to-do files here. So in the same way that I do in the parse agenda. And there is another script that is pomodoro control.py. This is responsible for the starting and pausing and ending of the timer. So I can show you once again. Here when I left click, it will start the timer. If I right click, it will pause the timer. If I click again, single click, it will start the timer. Right click will pause, and then middle click will end the timer. So this is so that if I start a task, I can just use the Pomodoro technique to concentrate on that task for 25 minutes until it's done. But sometimes I can automate this, but it's a little bit over the top, so I stopped that. I actually automated this, but not with this exact setup. I was running a Python backend using Django, which has some REST APIs. So I was controlling the to-dos with that setup. But eventually I got tired of that, because syncing that was a nightmare. So I switched to this method. And let's see what these scripts are all about. So I will go to my scripts folders, and here is the Pomodoro I will just show you the Pomodoro.py. Yeah, this is the Pomodoro control, and here let me look at the Pomodoro. Yeah, this is the Pomodoro.py file, and here is also the same as parse agenda. I take the path of the to-do folder and set the to-do and doing file, and here also I am not using done because I just wanted to take the task that has been started, not any other task. So I have a status file here, which is called pm underscore status.txt. It's in the temp folder, so that it's created when we run the scripts. And here also I use the same parse line command which I use in the parse agenda, but here I'm not doing as many things as there because I'm using the started task, so I only need to process the started tasks. So that's here. And in the process line I just use the first you know if I encounter a started task, then I will add that and cut everything else. So I wanted the first task that is started, that's all. So I just ran a small loop here without checking any other things, and then I combine the I run this process lines after combining the to do and doing files. So if there is a started task in to do, then that gets added here, or if it is in the doing file after I move the task, then that's also reflected here. So and here is the here is where I read that temp file, that pm status file, and then if there is a file, then I will read that file and set the current status from the file. If not, I will create the file and write a status there. So I use 0 and 1 for the status. So if it's 0, it's not started. If it's 1, it's started. So that's all. That check you can see here. So this is the main loop, where I you know uh, get the current status, and then I write out if it is 0, I will not loop, and I will just write that out. Since this script is being tailed, it will just run every time that script is being called by Polybar, and then I make a main loop here which with 25 minutes, and then if I get the current status as 1, so when you run the Pomodoro control here, it's I pass an argument of status s, and that 0 is not started, 1 is started, and I just 1 is running and 2 is paused and 3 is end. So these are the status that I passed there from the Polybar script, the Polybar section that you see earlier. So I just, and then I write that numbers to that file. So that's all. I'm not using any database here, so that's why I'm really writing from into the files. So and here if I encounter 1, then I increment the seconds and minutes, so that it will go continue ticking. And here I am using the apply command to produce that tick sound, and I'm using notify send to generate that notification to show that the thing is stopped. I also had an alarm.wav file which rings an alarm at the end of the session, but I decided I don't want that, so I just remove that file. So it's not there. So this is the pomodoro.py file and the Pomodoro control, which shows the Pomodoro timer in the Polybar. And then so that's all in the Polybar section. Now the last section is that move to do's Python script, which takes the completed and the in process tasks from the to do and put it in the appropriate files. So let's have a look at that script. So that's move to do's. So this is also a Python script, and it also takes the part of the to do folder, and here I'm setting 3 files: to do, doing, and done. So if you absolutely have to make sure that these 3 files are inside the folder, otherwise these scripts won't work. All these assume that these 3 files are present in that folder that you make. So I have certain arrays for the to-dos. So all to-do list will is the aggregate of all of the to-dos, and then I have a to-do list, doing list, and done list. You will see how it will go on. So I have a vim text, so that's basically to check if the file is at the end or not. So here is the command to check and update all to-do list. This is basically, you can have a look at the script and you can understand. So what I'm doing is that I go through these to-do and doing AMD and take all the files, all the lines, and then depending on the condition, I will append that to the list, and then I can have a you know so everything would be in the all to-do list. All the to-dos in the to-do and doing will be in the all to-do list, and then I loop through that to-do list, all to-do list, and depending on the type of task, I identify the task by the starting, which character it starts with, and then if it is a particular type of task, I will move that to that particular array, and that's what's happening here. So I will have this. I am also reading the header so that I can group that based on the header, and then just pass that along, and then uh, in the I open the files and then write everything to that file. So that's what's happening here. So here I'm opening to do file, and then done file, and then do file. So basically that's what I'm doing here. So that's the script, and I actually add my scripts folder. So I'm keeping all my scripts inside of documents scripts folder, and I source that using the ZSH So it's just basically this. So I just export that path here. So export path, and that's all I'm doing, so that these commands are available in the path, so that I can run it as an external script. So that's all from me today, and I think you have some idea of how you can adapt this system if you want, as per your liking. So I've been refining this system over many years. This doesn't I didn't come up with this idea overnight. I've been using this for many years now, so this works kind of okay for me, and I have like a lot of automation plugged into this system, which I'm reluctant to show because it's too complicated. I have uh, read from the APIs of Jira and updated here. I have done scripts to read from my mail and then create tasks based on that. So basically you can do a lot of things with this framework. I think most people get a basic idea of what you can do, and then you can extrapolate that with your workflow and adapt that. So that's perfectly possible. So I will share all these in my description. So if you like this video, give this a thumbs up, and please do subscribe to my channel. See you in another video. Bye.